Hey guys, welcome to the show. And if you were watching or listening to the podcast a few weeks ago, you know I let out a cattle call for anybody that loves chickens, that's want to talk chickens. If whether or not you're an expert or a backyard chicken keeper, I want to hear from you. I want to put you on the show because we want to talk about chickens. Well, I got another reply for us today, and this is about as far away from Central Louisiana as you could possibly get. We are in the land down under today, and we are talking live with Miss Kara Monte way down in Australia. Kara, how are you today?
I'm very well, Gary. Thank you for having me.
We are so excited about having you on the show. First things first, introduce yourself to my audience. Tell us about why you got into chickens and tell us about your birds.
No problems. So, my name's Cara, and I live in Melbourne, Australia, and was happily listening to one of my new favorite chicken podcasts and heard the call out. So, I thought I'd reach out and yeah, I'd love talking chickens. And I probably first got my first girls around 15 years ago, and we just had a few backyard Isa Browns in the suburbs, and just really loved them. And in Melbourne, we're allowed to have five chickens in a suburban residential
Okay.
area.
Yeah.
So I ended up with six or seven for a little while.
It's called chicken math. We all do it.
Yeah, people need to move chickens on and things like that. But so that's just how we sort of started, and we've always kept chickens. We've lost a couple of flocks, unfortunately, in the suburbs to foxes. They're our main predator here. Uh, but across the span of time, we've done fairly well, and I've recently moved to a property now that we're on over an acre, and
Nice.
so I'm allowed to have as many chickens as I like, uh, and roosters if I choose to. So, yeah, a bit of a mixed flock now, mixed few heritage in there now, and really nice girls.
Wonderful. Well, you and I were chatting a little bit the other day, and it was really fascinating some of the things about Australia. And I had to admit to you that what I knew about Australia was from Crocodile Dundee and the Bee Gees. So it makes it extremely limited. But you talked about the Ratchet. What's the name of the indigenous people down there?
Yep.
Aborigine.
The Aboriginal people,
Yes.
the traditional owners. So in Australia, often when we meet or begin a ceremony or even an online work meeting, we might say that we are going to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we're working from or that we're presenting from. And so it would be nice to include that.
Yes.
I'm here living on land that is traditionally the was looked after by the custodians, who are the Wurundjeri people. So the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. The Indigenous history in Australia is vast and rich and extends anywhere to 65,000 to 90,000 years. And
Wow.
so, it's a nice thing to acknowledge those people that have taken such great care of the land before I was lucky enough to live here. So
That's lovely. That's lovely. I really like that. By the way, you have a wonderful accent. I can understand you quite easily, and I know I sound like a country bumpkin to you, but your accent is just really lovely.
oh really? No, I see. I find the Australian accent is a bit strange, but the culture exchange is probably quite unbalanced, Gary, because we get a lot of American
Yeah.
television and film and music in Australia. So your accent is wonderful. I love a Southern accent. I said to you, it sounds really warm to me and really like welcoming and lovely. So it's
Oh, we
really
were we were on vacation in Colorado in the mountains last year, and we met a couple, and their family was there, and they were from Australia, and I just bugged the hell out of them, just wanted to chat with them because of their accent. I know they were really ready to get rid of me, but it was such fun to get to meet those people. They were very sweet. Don't misunderstand, but they were probably you're going, if this is the average American, I'm probably ready to go home, is what they were probably thinking by the end of it. Well, one of the things I had asked you in an email was about biosecurity, about do you guys get chickens that come into the country, or do you get fertilized eggs that are allowed into the country? How does that work? Because y'all are an island country. You're south of the equator. You're separate from everybody, which is not a bad thing the way things are working out nowadays. So
Yeah.
how does that work when it comes to getting more chickens in and biosecurity when it comes to those chickens?
Yeah, Australia is really, really strict in terms of our, in terms of our biosecurity at the airport. Even if we have the mainland of Australia, and we have one of our states which is separate from the mainland called Tasmania, and so they even have even stricter laws down there in terms
Heard of
of
it. We have a famous cartoon character about Tasmania devils.
oh yeah, of course, the Tassie Devil. Yeah, of
Yes.
course. Yeah, Warner Brothers. um, and yeah, so we're very, very strict about what can come into the country in terms of flora and fauna. And so when it comes to chickens, and I did have to look at this a little bit, but I was right. There can be imports of fertilized eggs. And so commercially, that is done on quite a wide
Right.
scale, I think.
Yeah.
And so those eggs will come in and be hatched in really strict quarantine, and then bred from there. So I think they're like in quarantine for a couple of months. So they will be bred from there. And look, my understanding is that breeders can bring in fertilized eggs. It's quite expensive to do that because they have to be brought in under those same conditions. Yeah.
The U.S. has a lot of that same kind of stuff. When you bring chickens from Europe over here, usually they go to the port of New York, and there's a place that they quarantine for about 6 months. So right now, I know it's winter over there where you are. It's the middle of summer over here where I am. So is there anything special that you need to do for your chickens because of the winter? I mean, are you cold enough that they really, really, need some special care, or that's just not really a big deal in Sydney,
Well, I'm in Melbourne, close.
in Melbourne?
You're right. There's,
My
there's
bad. That's
there's
another saying.
state rivalry that goes on.
Oh,
No, look, it's not cold enough, really. Where I am, I'm in like the hills. We call it the hills, and so it is that temperate rainforest, and it's frosty. The coldest it would really get up here is maybe -1 degree Celsius. I'm not sure what that is Fahrenheit. It's about
that's probably
70.
around 30 degrees or so, because 32 degrees Fahrenheit is 0 degrees Celsius.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the girls, they you can see their breath in the morning, but they're not too bad. It's just a matter of keeping them warm in the roost and trying to insulate that. This is a new property, so I'm kind of figuring things out as I go. We've built the run. It looked like the people who were here last used a tiny shed. I'm not sure where the chickens were, but they clearly used a very small little shed. But we've extended. We've got a really big run, and I did think I mentioned to you we haven't had much rain, and so when we did get our first big downpour, I was out there in the night in my gumboots, which is that galoshes? Do you have gumboots? In my
No,
Wellington
never heard of that. We have rubber boots or galoshes.
rubber boots. Yep. All right.
Yeah.
So in my rubber boots, digging, drainage gutters and all sorts of things in the pouring rain. So look, the girls don't get too freezing. I did have some chicks just come through, so they've just come out from under heat and have joined the big girls now. So everyone's fine out there. No one's freezing.
Well, how many adult hens do you have?
So I've got 9 adult hens, and
Okay.
I have now 5 girls who are around. They're a little bit of a mix, but they're around that sort of 3 months,
Okay.
10 weeks, 12
How-
weeks. Yeah.
are they still laying right now while it's winter?
Not many, no. I have my youngest hen. She's the strangest looking chicken I've ever seen. I think all chickens are beautiful. this is the least beautiful chicken. I inherited her from someone. She's very feisty, and she's the boss already. Interestingly, she's an Araucana cross, so she's an olive egger, and
Nice.
she's the youngest, so she's kept going through the cold. And I've got one of my Wyandottes and my other Araucana. They're on and off. I'm getting maybe 1 to 3 eggs a day.
Okay, at nine hens in the winter, that's not terribly bad, you know.
No, it's
I
not
would say
too bad.
your girls are probably good and healthy. When it comes to feed, do you have national brands that y'all have over here? Like over here, we have 2 or 3 different brands that are just national. Purina is one of them. We have a big market feed store, Tractor Supply that you'll find in almost every friggin' town.
Yeah, right.
And
I've heard of Tractor Supply. Yeah, I
yeah,
read
yeah,
about
and we have
it.
local feed distributors too that I like to patronage as well. So what kind of feed is the normal feed that you give your girls?
Yeah, there's a couple of big brands. There's one that's called Red Hen, and there's Barristock is probably the biggest one. So look, as long I support my local small feed store, but they of course carry the big brands. So I've been probably on there's a couple of different Barristock that I've used, and I sort of I can't decide whether I like the pellets or the crumble better. I think they like the crumble better. Uh,
I'm a pellet guy.
yeah, it just depends. Like I did get a couple of bags of pellets for a while there, and they did quite like it. So, um, yeah, we'll see. But they're a pretty good standard. Of course, you can get different, but the Barristocks are pretty good. It's not the highest end, but it's a pretty good nutritional feed, and of
Well,
course, they're made
most
sort of
yeah,
grain. Yeah,
most stores around here will offer 3 different qualities, for lack of a better word, for the consumer, because not everybody wants to buy the most expensive that they have. I could go get out of the same store, I can get a $15 bag of feed, and that's 15 US. I'm not sure how y'all's
yeah,
currency works. And
yeah. It's about one
get
and a half, I think.
okay.
So yeah, so $25. Yep.
Oh wow, ooh. I can get a $20 and I can get a $25. Now the 15, I don't buy because I want mine to do maximum egg production, and I will kind of go back and forth with the 20 and $25. Just kind of depends on how my wallet goes, how well my sponsors do that month, because I do have a couple of sponsors that help pay for some of
Yeah.
this. But I don't go to the very bottom. Just there's a lot of fillers in that, and not that there's anything wrong with that. The chickens
No.
can still be healthy and grow and do everything that they need. But some of the things I'm looking for is that really good protein calcium type mix, and your other vitamins that are in there, your B vitamins that are very, very essential for the birds to make them. So yeah, I go to the little bit more expensive brands, and it helps when you have a sponsor that's actually buying those for you, you know.
Yeah, that's
And,
it. Well,
and,
you
yeah,
know.
believe me, my sponsors barely pay for my feed.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. They at least do that, and that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I also feed the girls a lot of scraps from the house, and when I say a lot, we do compost, and I
Yeah.
have 2 different compost bins, and we'll throw veggies and different things in the compost. Well, they make beelines and they do head dives into there. They're going to stretch around and eat some of the compost. In the
Yeah.
evenings, out of a 7-day week, probably 4 days, I'm going to go out there and give them some black soldier fly larvae, boost the protein, especially summertime. In the dead of winter, protein is a little more important than it is in the spring and fall when the wild where there's a little bit milder. So I'll give them the treats, and they really love that. Uh, I can be anywhere, and if I holler, "Come on, girls!" it is a wave of chickens. I mean,
Same.
it could be so funny, With my egg stand outside, I have people come by sometimes and they go, "Oh, can I see the chickens?" And we'll go and I'll let them stand by the fence. I don't let them go inside, and I holler for them, and they almost inevitably they just start screaming because it's so funny about watching these birds do this. But yeah, feed what makes them happy, feed what makes them healthy, and just keep going the way that you want to do, and the way that are good for your birds.
My kids think it's funny because we now have a like a like a mealyworm farm,
Really? I haven't started that.
well, it's really interesting. I did get started only Well, it's probably about a month ago, and ordered some in, and got my containers
You're going to
going.
have to send me pictures and videos of that.
Yeah, well, at the moment it was just the first tub, and this might make you laugh, but we've had a few birthdays, we've had things going on, and been checking them and like feeding the girls out of it, and I was a bit like, oh, I might have used too many, and I have to bring some more in to get the. But they've just been breeding in there, so I'd read all of the information about needing to remove the pupa so they don't eat the worms. They're going crazy. So I've just done that yesterday. I've started to notice the pupa sort of moving around. So I've been pulling them out. But it's abundant, and I have not done anything difficult yet. So the difficult bit's about to start. I'll share with you how that goes. But
Please, yeah.
it's a great thing to have on hand to the girls, and the girls know, especially the young birds. I'll go out there and I'll just call cheap, cheap, and the little ones know, and they'll run.
Well, earlier you mentioned about whenever you were in the city and you had predators and foxes that would get after your animals. You know, when I think about Australia, I think about some of the scariest predators on the planet. You know, crocs, lizard, snakes. I don't know, what all. But where you are now, it's more rural. So is the predator problem more so, less so, or different?
Well, it's funny, not that it's funny, but like I hear about all of your predators, the animals that I think are like really cute.
Did you say cute?
like
Okay.
like
Y'all heard that, okay, folks? Y'all heard that.
I'm really sorry. Things like you have like raccoons and things like that. Like I don't know. I feel like they're adorable animals. Like I'm
Yeah,
horrified.
where y'all have things that take a leg off. I get it.
Look, Australia is really funny like that. We don't have where I am in Melbourne. Look, there might be sort of parts of really regional Australia who may have problems with perhaps like large lizards, like we have goannas, like really, really large lizards. We see them like they're around, but then they're definitely not considered like if you see one, it's exciting, and they're not, but if I had, they're not really common around here. So I don't believe they're a predator, but the main predator for chickens in anywhere in Australia are foxes, which were introduced, when we were colonised. The English thought it would be a great idea to bring rabbits to do hunting and foxes to do hunting, and
Yeah, that's a
so
big thing in England, yes.
so now our native fauna really suffers because of foxes and rabbits. Rabbits do a lot of damage, as you can imagine, to vegetation, and foxes are really big predators of chickens. And it's funny that you should say. I really thought it would be worse here. I did like. It was a really awful story, but I did live not in the meantime when we were looking to buy. We were renting a home, and it was a suburb. It was still up here in the hills, but it was more of a suburban, beautiful green backyard actually for the girls. It was smaller, and we lost. My son had a pair of ducks as well, and I lost two ducks who would not go into the coop, and
What going to the coop?
they wouldn't go in.
Oh,
They
okay.
wouldn't. Yeah, sorry. They
Oh,
they they just
they refuse to go in the coop.
refused to
Okay,
go
yeah.
in. And in hindsight, it may have been because they sensed that there was something near the coop, which was quite near the house. However, yeah, that was horrific, losing two big, beautiful white ducks, whose names were Cheese and Quackers.
I'm laughing with you, I promise.
So foxes were a problem there, but on this property, I have a dog. I have a little dog, and no one would be scared of him. He tries, but all of my neighbours have very big dogs,
Helpful.
which Yeah, I mean, once we get settled, we might get another dog in to help look after the girls. But those dogs, my neighbours have said that they've actually never seen foxes. There are definitely foxes here. Don't misunderstand me. I see them on the roads all the time. But in terms of right where I am, I'm hoping that offers me a little bit of protection at the moment, being surrounded by big dogs.
Okay.
I did hear of on a local page someone losing their chickens to dogs, though, that had gotten out from someone's property. So it's, but in
Dogs
terms
can
of,
be bad. Yes.
yeah, in terms of small predators, um, I don't have to do like the tiny mesh, it's kind of big chicken wire that's dug in, as long as as long as foxes,
Yeah.
like that's yeah. So it's very well reinforced. I've got a couple of big trees in the middle of my run, so it's wired in tight around the trees. But so far, yeah, there would be big, big birds, wedge-tailed eagles, which are our biggest
Okay.
bird.
So y'all do have predator birds.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they're not.
raptors.
Yeah, I think farmers would have problems with, in big
Yeah.
open spaces. We do see them, but we're very tree covered here. They wouldn't come down low here, but they have about a 6 foot wingspan. They're huge, beautiful birds. Yeah. So,
Well, we have bald eagles close to where I am. I've seen them out in the pasture, but I've never seen them to get too close. But I have lost birds to chicken hawks before, or red-tailed hawks. They may not necessarily be what we call a chicken hawk, and that's my worst predator. I've had raccoons come in the yard, but I have them on video, and they walk back and forth, but they can't get in.
yeah, yeah.
Inevitably, I go to trap them because I have a live trap, and I want to move them several miles away. But the last three times I went to trap one, the very next day someone run over it on the road. So I just
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
and I hate that to happen because we need
Well,
those animals. That they're
mm.
part of the ecosystem and they're part of nature. And I don't want to disturb that, but I do want to move them away from my place.
Yeah,
You know, on there.
definitely,
So yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. So all right, we're getting close on our time limit on here. So please tell us some more about what goes on in Australia when it comes to chickens.
I think, look, Australia has had a real boom, probably like much of the world when it was COVID time, and
COVID
uh,
did it over here too. Yes.
yeah, everyone realized that it's nice to be able to collect your own eggs and have that happening at home. But there is a real boom, and there's a real resurgence in heritage breeds over here. So my first few girls were Isa Browns, and everyone, they're still a favorite for the beginner backyard chicken lover. But
You don't have
yeah,
any astrolorps or
we do. I
australorps?
actually, yeah, Australorps. Yeah, I don't have any Australorps. When I That was my choice when I went to get chickens the first time, but my daughter was very, very tiny, and the Australorp chickens were enormous, and I had never. and I'd never had chickens before, so I did go with the Ices, who turned out to be lovely. But I do have my eye on a couple of Australorps because they are very reliable layers, and I don't have a brown egg layer in my flock at the moment.
Wow.
For the first time, I lost my last ISA not long ago, so yeah, I've not
Well,
got a brown egg layer.
but because my eggs are always so fresh, they're not worth a flip for boiling because you need an older egg to peel a lot better when it's boiled. So my
Yeah.
wife will send me to the store to buy eggs at the store, and it's called the Walk of Shame. And I hope no one recognizes me in there because I'm sneaking out, like I've got gold bullion under my arm with a dozen eggs. But if people don't know, you need at least a month-old egg before it's going to boil and peel decently. And
Yeah,
my eggs
yeah,
they don't ever make it that long. They're either
yeah.
sold or eaten. The flavor, and I know you've tasted the difference between what you get at the market and what you
Amazing.
raise at your house. They're just rich and beautiful. So you go to the local feed store. what does an average young 2-day-old chick cost? Over here, you're going to spend between $4 and $6, depending on the breed. Maybe eight if it's a really rare type of breed, but $4 to $6 is an average for a chick that you get over here.
That's a really interesting question because I've never seen a chick for sale at a feed store.
Really? Well, how do you order them through the mail?
So it's really interesting. The way I've always sourced them is that there are a couple of kind of poultry farms who do that, and you go and pick up your chicks there. You
That's even
can
better.
definitely, yeah, you can definitely order fertilized eggs to hatch if you've got a brooder. But for me personally, and from what I can gather, it's quite rare. I mean, and people are on websites, you know, like Gumtree or things like, yeah. Oh no, yours probably isn't called
Never heard
Gumtree,
of
is
it.
it? Like Craigslist kind of thing. Is that a
Okay,
thing still?
Facebook over here.
Facebook, yeah.
Well,
Well, we
Craigslist. Yes, we have Craigslist. Yes.
yeah, so people will do that. There, it's interesting that you ask that, and I wonder if it's to do with animal laws and things like that. But people sell out of their backyards, but it's often kind of breeders that get a bit of a name, and then you buy, yeah, from the breeder. I actually haven't ever bought 1 or 2 day old ones myself, but you see them usually going for maybe, yeah, $5 unsexed. Yeah.
Okay. Well, over here we have huge hatcheries that will hatch a few thousand eggs a week, and you may have 20 different hatcheries that you can choose from, probably
Mm.
five out there that are the biggest dealers that you can find. And like I said, they do thousands of birds a week, and you can order them through the mail. The United
Yeah.
States Postal Service has been delivering baby chicks since the second day they opened in 18 oh whatever it was.
Wow.
And a chick's got the ability because right before it hatches, it sucks up all of that yolk and it can live 2 or 3 days quite easily without food or drink because it has all of that in its body. So we get them through the mail. It's really easy. And it's a lot of fun to do that because the post office will call you up and say, hey, we have your chicks here. Come get them.
it's it's probably lucky. I don't know how many I would have if I could order them through the mail because it's often a little bit of a drive,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
get them. But yeah, definitely a resurgence in heritage breeds, and so I've got a couple of interesting girls out there now, which is really cool. So I don't know, did you want me to I recently was in touch with one of my old high school teachers. So it's a long time ago. It's a very long time
Yeah.
ago. Uh, and he is retired now. He was the animal husbandry teacher at my high school, so he always had chicks in the science labs and things like that. But he breeds very rare chickens in Australia, and so
Nice.
he contacted me, and he yeah, I'll actually send you some information. He has some really beautiful chickens, but he did have one who her comb wasn't quite up to standard. She's a red Derbyshire, and he said, would it be okay if I came out and we had a cup of coffee, and would you like this very rare chicken to add to your chicken flock? And I hadn't seen him for about 30 years and 35 years, and we had a really amazing catch up.
How
And
neat.
he got on his walking stick and headed out and checked out my coop and made sure everything was up to his standard. And we had a really lovely catch up. So I've got quite a rare chicken in there now, and
That's
um,
wonderful. Well,
mm.
I just had to pop up on my screen saying that we're running out of time, so we're going to stop it all right here. I think you and I could chat for quite a while.
I
Tara,
know.
thank you so much for coming on the show. I don't know how much we learned about chicken, but we learned about Australia, and I think it was just beautiful to do that. I think the moral of this is us chicken lovers are chicken lovers, and backyard chicken keepers are backyard chicken keepers all over the planet. You know,
Yeah, and
so
it's great when we can connect over things that
it is.
we share. So maybe we could talk more technical chickens another time.
We'll
But
talk
thanks
more
so
technical
much.
another time. Thank you
Thanks so
so
much for
much.
having me.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Bye.